guys, AstroCass back here with another video. Today's video is going to be on Sabrina Carpenter. We're going to have a look at her astrology chart and kind of have a bit of a discussion about her major placements and what's happening for her. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Cassandra, aka AstroCass. I love astrology. I am a Western kind of tropical astrologer. I use the whole sign house systems. I practice more traditional astrology words today. So I do predominantly use whole sign house systems and focus on the more traditional planets and house rulership. But I do have a very westernized tropical type of a style to my astrology readings. I've just kind of quickly was inspired to do this reading. I've had work today. I'm a little bit tired, so we'll see how we go. I hope you guys really enjoy this reading as much as I enjoy doing it, but I felt really inspired to do this reading. So thank you so much for tuning into my video today. As always, if you could give me a like or subscribe to my channel so you don't miss anything, I would really appreciate that. All my information is below, so you can find all my readings, because I do personal astrology readings. My email address, everything is below, including my other social medias, all down below. Sorry, you can probably hear my dog in the background walking on my bedroom floorboards, so I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, if you could help me grow my channel, I'd really appreciate that with the like, subscribe, drop some comments below, because I really like interacting with you guys and hearing your points of view on the astrology, not just my own. Obviously, I'm still learning. I've been doing this for quite a few years, but always learning. I'm really open to other people's feedback and opinion. I think we can all add, our own insights and opinion into astrology and into people's kind of charts. So I'd really love to talk with you guys in the comments below. But with that all being said, let's jump into her chart. Let's have a look. I'm so excited. She's just become this little pop icon. She's just trending everywhere right now, so popular right now. And everyone's loving her style and her tours and her music. So, Espresso is doing so well right now. I thought perfect time to do a reading on her and have a look at her astrology chart. So, like always, we're going to look at her main placements, especially her rising, her chart ruler, her sun, her moon, and then her personal planets being, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. We might talk about the outer planets depending on how we go for time. But yeah, let's just jump into it and have a bit of a look at that. So we don't have a time of birth for Sabrina. So we don't actually know the time she was born, which really makes it hard for us to tell the house system, as in what house rules what zodiac sign and those sorts of things. So it's a bit more tricky when we don't have a time of birth, but not impossible. We can still find out a bit of information, and we can still know obviously what planets are in what zodiac signs, so we can tell a fair bit about her personality and who she is as a person. It's just if we knew her chart ruler and her rising sign, and we knew the houses, what house is where, it would be so much better to kind of make the reading a lot more accurate. But we're going to go with what we've got. So a Pisces moon, given that we don't have a time of birth and she is a late Pisces moon, she could also be an Aries moon. So late degree Pisces or early degrees Aries, because that does change really quickly, and because it is so close to the cusp between Pisces and Aries, she could be either or. If she is in fact a Pisces moon, this would make her more sensitive, more vulnerable. It's a water sign. She'd be more whimsical. She'd be kind of off with the fairies, sometimes out of touch with reality. She'd really struggle to be in reality because she's off in that fantasy world. Very creative, very romantic. Sometimes these people can have issues with delusions, illusions, rose-colored glasses. They can be super sensitive. Sometimes they can have issues with substance abuse and a need for escapism. Sometimes that can lead to victim mentality and stuff like that as well. But on the higher side, this is a very spiritual person, someone that's got really great spiritual gifts, that's really connected to humanity, very compassionate person. So that is beautiful. She has a later moon being in, like, if she's born later and it's actually more of an Aries moon that she has, um, that would make her very independent, kind of bossy, really sassy, um, a really strong leader. It would make her a bit bold, a bit more entrepreneurial, because that Aries energy, those people with an Aries moon are very reactive. They can be very quick. They're very, they can be quite immature. Um, they can have like all of those traits about them with that Aries moon, very reactive, can be quick to like get frustrated. They can kind of have like outbursts of like crying but being angry, if that makes sense, like triggered emotionally. Um, so that can be one issue with like that kind of Aries moon. But the more positive side is, again, as I said, they can be leaders, they can be very brave, they can be very active, very assertive. They're really great in that aspect, very confident leaders. So it's not a bad placement to have at all. They can be quite independent, they know what they want. So that's quite nice. But I'm personally, I feel like maybe she's more of a Pisces moon. But again, I guess we don't really know her private life. We only see kind of what's put out in social media and what's put out into the public. So she could be either or there. But pop some comments below. Like, what do you think? Do you think she fits more of like a Pisces moon or more of an Aries moon? From the stories that are out there and what you kind of see of her, I guess, on tour and stuff like that. What do you think? She is a Taurus sun as well. So her sun is in Taurus. Now, from what we can see, there are some squares to her sun from her North Node and South Node, also from her Uranus that is in Aquarius. So squares to the sun can be quite challenging because the sun is your identity, your ego, your life force. And with that square from Uranus, Uranus is like shocks and sudden changes. So that can show a lot of instability to her identity and to her life force, to who she is as a person, how she shines. And squares are tension, they're conflict, something that she needs to kind of work out there. So that can be quite challenging. I would assume she would probably have a lot of probably confidence issues, just challenges with like shining and being seen. What else I noticed about her chart as well is that she has a stellium in Taurus. So her sun is there, but we've also got Saturn and Mercury, and Saturn and Mercury are in a conjunction together. So this tells me Mercury is your mind, it's how you think, it's how you communicate. People with Taurus placements as well have such a beautiful voice because Taurus rules the throat. Beautiful singers, they're really good musicians generally. But Mercury being in Taurus shows me that her mind, how she thinks and how she communicates, is very reliable, very stable, very steadfast, very sweet. It is a feminine sign as well. It's an earth sign. So very kind of grounded, reliable, steady, but they can be very stubborn. So that is something they do need to be careful of. These people also, they're quite laid back. They like to do things slowly. They like to enjoy things and enjoy, the comforts, a nice glass of wine, good food, a comfy blanket, those sorts of things. So they like their sleep-ins, they like their coffee, just those enjoyable pleasures in life. So they don't like to rush and do things really quickly. They like to take their time and do things. They're steady, that's what they like. So it's really great to have her mind, how she thinks is she can be very stubborn and she's very reliable and very steady with how she thinks and she communicates as well. And Saturn being on top of that Mercury, like Saturn is restrictions, it's limitations, it's caution, it's being responsible, being reliable. It's about, that hard work and being an authority figure. So there is a sense of the way that she communicates and the way she thinks being very traditional, very hardworking, very responsible, very mature. Excuse me. The other things that stood out to me is that she has her Mars in Libra. This is a bit challenging because Libra is an air sign, but it is more of a masculine sign as well. It is ruled by Venus. And so, with like Mars being in a Venusian kind of ruled zodiac sign, that can be quite challenging. But the hardest thing is that it's actually in full because it's opposite Aries, and Aries is the house that it rules. So it's quite uncomfortable in Libra. Libra is usually about peace and harmony, cooperation, like a balance. It's very like socially graceful. It's really focused on relationships and that cooperation. And Mars doesn't really like to cooperate. Mars is more about taking action, like being a winner. It's about, I guess like competition. So it really struggles to be in that air sign that wants more cooperation and peace and harmony because Mars wants to fight. It's what you fight for and what you fight with. So this kind of shows that she fights for her relationships because it's in Libra. She fights for her relationships. She fights for peace and harmony, but there's also a lot of conflict that comes with that. So that could be a huge challenge. That's a theme that showed up throughout her whole life is that issue there where maybe she wants just peace and harmony, but she somewhat seems to be brought into the challenges or have problems with relationships there. I also noticed that she has Jupiter in Aries. Jupiter is where you usually have the most luck, expansion, and growth in your life. So if we knew more about her houses, we'd be able to interpret that a little bit more. But she does have, a pretty nice Jupiter there. Her Venus is in Cancer. I love that. It's such a beautiful placement. And it's actually got a really nice like trine to Mars, which again I really love because that's really great for relationships, especially romantic relationships. It can be quite good for money too, because Venus rules over money, love, romance, pleasure, things that we value. Um, so it's nice to see that trine to Mars. It's also nice to see that it's in Cancer. Cancer is a water sign, so I would assume she really values and really loves things to do with the home and family, cooking, being a homemaker, being a nurturer, helping people. That can be like a really beautiful way of her showing love and care to somebody is through like cooking, through doing like nostalgic things with them. So that's quite a beautiful placement there. She has a very caring, nurturing, motherly side to her with that Venus in Cancer there. Wants to care for other people and take care of them, definitely with that placement. However, it is square her moon. If her moon is in Pisces, there is a square there, which even if it's early degrees Aries, that square is going to be even worse because Aries is actually the square to Cancer. But degree wise, even if it's in Pisces, it's still that moon would square her Venus. So having your moon square your Venus means that there is a bit of a challenge because squares are like tension and conflict, right? So her emotional needs, which is her moon, her security and her emotional needs they're not being met and there's some challenge there. So something to do with her relationships, things that she values and loves, is not getting along with her emotional needs. So the things that she values, the things that she finds pleasure in, doesn't cooperate with her emotional needs and security. So there's a challenge, there's a tension, there's conflict, there's something there that's not really working for her. So that could be something that she really struggles with in life as well. You might have already noticed so far things about her relationships playing out that you might see publicly. Even in the future, you might see more of these events play out because this is her chart for her whole life. So it's not like it's going to be just one event. These things can be activated by transits and other things. So these things can pop up either, once or maybe multiple times, depending on how they're activated in her chart through transit. So it'll be interesting to see because she's quite young how that plays out a bit further down the track for her, especially now that she's kind of, a bit of a pop icon, getting a lot more famous and more attention. It'd be interesting to see how that all plays out for her. I guess we haven't spoken about Neptune. So Neptune's the planet of creativity, spirituality, all those fun things, fantasy. It's in Aquarius along with Uranus not being too far away. Obviously, we don't know what house it's in, so we can't really talk too much about that, other than Neptune has a bit of a square to her Mercury and Saturn. So that shows that the way she communicates, and the way she thinks can be impacted by things like mental health or delusions or illusions. She might not see things clearly. There might be a lot of things hidden from her or a lot of confusion about the way she communicates and the way she thinks. There's just some challenges there with that square. So I thought that was quite interesting to see in her chart. I would probably feel like she could definitely struggle a bit with maybe mental health and maybe feeling like a bit of an imposter or really struggle with like some self-confidence issues because of the square from Uranus to her sun and then the square from Neptune to her Mercury. I just feel like there could be some kind of self-confidence issues, maybe some anxiety there. But again, that's just speculation. Obviously, none of this is facts. This is just for entertainment purposes and kind of what I see from the chart. So I'm open to other people's suggestions below if they know more about astrology and mental health, their connections and what they've seen and what they kind of think. I'm totally open to being wrong. I just know that usually Neptune's about not having boundaries. It can be about having issues with substance abuse and delusions and illusions and not being in reality. A lot of the time, Neptune has a huge part to play in mental health. And then when we've got a square to Mercury, which is the mind and our thoughts, it just shows me that there could be some kind of mix up and confusion and mental health stuff going on there. But yeah, as I said, could definitely be wrong. But yeah, I think the only other thing that I haven't spoken about is her Chiron and Pluto that are both in Sagittarius. So Chiron is your wounds. It's the wounded healer. It shows where you have wounds and how you're going to heal other people through those wounds. So hers is in Sagittarius. That's about freedom and like your higher mind, spirituality, religion, travel, those sorts of things. Sagittarius energy is very wise. It's about freedom seeking and adventure, all that kind of stuff. So there could be some kind of wound there for her. Again, we don't know the houses, so it's a bit hard to get more details about that. Pluto is a planet of transformation and crisis and rebirth. So that's in Sagittarius as well. Again, bringing up some more of that transformative type energy. So definitely with Chiron and Pluto both being in there, Sagittarius is a big area for her that she needs to focus on throughout her life. So that'll be interesting if we ever do find out her time of birth to kind of see where that's playing out and what's happening there for her. And then I both briefly spoke about her North Node and South Node before, but her North Node is in Leo, her South Node is in Aquarius. That Leo Aquarius axis shows that her South Node is in Aquarius. That's what she needs to leave behind. That's her past life, her past. She needs to move into her North Node, which is that Leo energy, which is being a performer, an artist, shining, being seen. So that's her life destiny and her life purpose is to move into that North Node type energy, which I definitely think she is doing at the moment with that Leo energy. She's definitely shining